Naturally, I never saw anyone come out either. Later, I noticed people started calling those places nursing homes and rest homes. Apparently, it was decided that some of these old people needed nurses, while others just needed a little rest. What you hear them called now is retirement homes, or long-term care facilities. There's another one of those truly bloodless terms, long-term care facility. But actually, it makes sense to give it a name like that, because if you do, you make it a lot easier for the person you're putting in there to acquiesce and cooperate with you. I remember old people used to tell their families, "Whatever you do, don't put me in a home. Please, don't put me in a home." But it's hard to imagine one of them saying, "Whatever you do, don't put me in a long-term care facility." So calling it that is really a trick. Come on, Grandpa, it's not a home. It's a long-term care facility. By the way, while we're on this subject of the language of getting old, I want to tell you something that happened to me in New York on a recent evening. I was standing in line at the Carnegie Deli to pay my check, and there was a guy ahead of me who looked like he was in his 60s. He gave the cashier a $10 bill, but apparently it wasn't enough. When the cashier mentioned it to him in a nice way, he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I guess I had a senior moment." And I thought how sad that was, to blame a simple mistake on the fact that you're in your 60s, even if you're just sort of joking. As if anyone would think a 20-year-old couldn't make the same mistake. I only mention this because it's an example of how people can brainwash themselves by adopting popular language. I wanted to pull him aside and say, "Listen, I just heard you refer to yourself as a senior, and I wanted to ask, were you by any chance a junior last year? Because if you weren't a junior last year, then you're not a senior this year." I wanted to say it, but I figured, why would he listen to me? After all, I'm still a freshman. Here's a safety tip from the American Eye Association. Never jab a knitting needle directly into your eye and repeatedly thrust it in and out. You could be inviting vision problems. If you should suffer an eye injury, rinse the eye immediately with a caustic solution of Clorox and ammonia, and rub the surface of the eye vigorously for about 10 minutes with No. 3 sandpaper. The American Eye Association reminds you, don't fuck around with your eyes. They're the key to vision. Do you ever get lip crud? That sticky film that sometimes forms on your lip, especially the lower lip? It's kind of a gooey crud that builds up, and when it dries it turns into a gummy, crusty coating. Thicker at the corners of the mouth, but thinning out as it works its way down toward the center of the lip. And when it's really bad, the corners of your mouth look like parentheses. Do you ever get that? Lip crud? Well, here's how you get rid of it. It's a simple, low-tech operation, and it requires just a single tool, the thumbnail. That's all you need. You scrape the crud off with your thumbnail. You just scrape it on down. You keep on scraping. Don't worry about those people watching from the bus stop. If they knew anything, they wouldn't be riding the bus. You scrape it on down, you scrape it on down, and finally, when it's all off, you take it and roll it up into a little ball, and then you save that son of a bitch. That's my practice, folks. I save it. Personally, I'm a lip crud buff. In fact, I save everything I remove from my body. Don't you? At least for a little while. Don't you look at things when they first come off of you? Study them? Aren't you curious? Don't you spend a few minutes looking at something, trying to figure out what it is and what it's doing on you in the first place? Sure you do. You don't just pull some growth off your neck and throw it in the trash. You study it. You want to know what it is. Besides, you never know when you're going to need parts. Isn't that true? You ever see these guys on TV? They're in the hospital. One guy's waiting for a kidney, another guy's waiting for a lung. Fuck that shit. I've got parts at home. I have a freezer full of viable organs, 2 of everything, ready to go. What do you need, a spleen? An esophagus? How about a nice used ball bag, huh? Come on. Caucasian ball bag, 1 owner, good condition. He only scratched it on Sundays. Come on, folks, take a chance. I've got everything you need. But regardless of your need for parts, the larger point is true. Most people study the things they pick off their bodies before they throw them away. Because you want to know what something is. You don't want to spend 15 minutes peeling a malignant tumor off your forehead just to toss it out the window sight unseen into the neighbor's swimming pool. No! You want to take a good long look at it. You may even want to share the experience. Holy shit, honey, look at this thing. Holy jumping fucking Jesus. Look at this. Hey, honey, come in here. Honey, come in. Come in here, goddammit. Fuck the rice-a-roni. Get your ass in here. Look at this thing. Ain't it something? Guess where I got it? A minute ago it was part of my head. Not anymore. I pried the bastard off with paint thinner and a Phillips head screwdriver. But look at it, honey. Look at the colors. It's green, blue, yellow, orange, brown, tan, khaki, beige, bronze, olive, neutral, black, off-black, champagne gold, Navajo white, turquoise, and Band-Aid color. Plus, get this, it's exactly the same shape as Iraq. That is, if you leave out that northern section where the Kurds live. I'm not throwing this bastard away. It might become a collectible. Dial up those dickheads on eBay. We can make some fucking money on this thing. It annoys me when people complain about athletes taking steroids to improve athletic performance. It's a phony argument, because over the years, every single piece of sports equipment used by athletes has been improved many times over. Golf balls and clubs, tennis balls, rackets, baseball gloves and bats, football pads and helmets, and so on through every sport. Each time, technology has found a way to improve equipment, it has done so. So why shouldn't a person treat his body the same way? In the context of sports, the body is nothing more than one more piece of equipment anyway, so why not improve it with new technology? Athletes use weights. Why shouldn't they use chemicals? Consider the Greek Phidippides, a professional runner who in 490 BC ran from Athens to Sparta and back, 280 miles, to ask the Spartans for help against the Persians in an impending battle that threatened Athens. Don't you think his generals would have been happy to give him amphetamines if they had been available, and a nice pair of New Balance high-performance running shoes while they were at it? Grow up, purists. The body is not a sacred vessel. It's a tool. I don't care for athletes who point to the sky after they've accomplished something on the field. Even worse are the ones who kneel down, bow their heads, and make a big show of being believers. You know something? God doesn't like that shit. He's not impressed with spiritual grandstanding. It embarrasses him. He says, "Get up, you phony show-off bullshit artist, and pay attention to the fucking game. I took the points." Imagine the conceit of these people who think God is helping them and is looking for their acknowledgement. I say, play now, pray later. Attitude check. Let's straighten out this whole attitude thing. Someone on TV said the sports anchor guys on ESPN have a lot of attitude. Let me tell you something. What these guys have is not attitude. Here's attitude. One day when I was about 18, I was standing at the bar in the Moylan Tavern with a couple of guys from my New York neighborhood. The Moylan had big windows, so if you were standing by the bar, you could easily see the people walking by on Broadway. One of the guys in our group was a little older than the rest of us, an ex-convict named John Cooney. All of a sudden, in the middle of the conversation, he looked out the window and saw someone walking past. He reached behind the bar for the baseball bat, the one the bartenders used for settling sports and political arguments, and he went outside, walked up to the guy on the sidewalk, and just started smashing him with the baseball bat. The guy fell down. John walked back into the bar and put the bat away. He said, "The guy owes me money." That's attitude. The guys on ESPN don't have that. What they have is a kind of smart-mouth white boy college mentality. They're snotty, superficial white guys. Even the black anchors on ESPN are nothing more than snotty white guys. Snotty is not attitude. Snotty is just bad manners, and it's boring. John Cooney knew attitude. He also knew more about how to swing a bat than any of those blow-dried, never-were athletes sitting safely behind their fruity little desks.